Hi, guys. So today we are going to be starting reading the first part of the second Edgar Allan Poe story that we are reading. We're splitting the story into two parts. And that story today is called The Mask of the Red Death. So, like I said, you clicked on the first video here that goes over the first part of the story. For The Fall of the House of Usher, we just read that story. With The Mask of the Red Death, we are going to be actively reading it. So you're going to need to have your Cami version of this story up, and you are going to need to have my video up so you can do the active read with me. Okay. So I have my copy up here, and I already have your focus and your key filled in. The focus of this story, where is their irony in this story? And the primary type of irony in this story is going to be situational, and we're going to do some things with that. And next, what character traits are used to describe Prospero? So those are going to be the things that we're focusing on in this story, irony and character traits, and our key is going to help us outline those things. So anytime we have an important detail in the story, we are going to highlight it blue. Any character traits that we have for Prospero, we are going to use the underline feature, which is it's underneath the highlight feature. Um, and anytime we see any situational irony, we are going to highlight it pink. Okay. So make sure that you have your highlighter tool ready and you understand how to underline things as well. Okay. So let's go ahead and get started. The Mask of the Red Death. The Red Death had long been feeding on the country. No sickness had ever been so deadly, so great a killer, or so fearful to see. Blood was its mark. The redness and horror of blood. These were there were sharp pains and a sudden feeling that the mind was rushing in circles inside the head. Then there was bleeding through the skin, though it was not cut or open. And then death. The bright red spots upon the body, and especially upon the face of the sick man, made other men turn away from him, afraid to try and help. And the sickness lasted, from the beginning to the end, no more than half an hour. Okay, so this information right here, it's all very important to the story. So we're going to go ahead and get our highlight tool out, select blue, and we're going to highlight this first paragraph blue. You might have to click on that select anyway because it is a larger section to highlight. That's okay. Click select anyway if that pops up for you. But Prospero, the ruler of that land, was happy and strong and wise. Okay, we have some direct characterization here. Go ahead and get our underline tool. The ruler of the land was happy, strong, and wise. Okay, and I'm going to add a text box over here too. Oh, wait, no. I want to add a comment, sorry. And I'm going to say this is direct characterization. Saying that he's happy, strong, and wise. Okay. When half the people of his land had died, he called to him 1,000 healthy, happy friends, and with them went far away to live in one of his palaces. This was a large and beautiful stone building he had planned himself. A strong, high wall circled it. This wall had gates of iron. The gentlemen, after they had entered, brought fire to heat the iron of the gates and make them close so firmly that no one could open them. Here, they could forget the sickness, the Red Death. They would leave the outside world to care for itself. Okay, so we have an example of situational irony in here. So go ahead and get your pink highlighter out. When half of the people of his land had died, he called to him 1,000 healthy, happy friends, and with them went far away to live in one of his palaces. Highlight that sentence. Oops, and I want to highlight it, not underline it. So make sure you select the highlight tool. And I want it to be pink. There we go. And I'm going to add a text box over here to explain. Why is this ironic? A ruler should take care of his people, not run away from them in times of trouble. Okay. And I'm going to make my text a different color just so it's easier for us to find later. Okay, we have one important detail here as well to highlight. The gentlemen, after they had entered, brought fire to heat the iron of the gates and make them close so firmly no one could open them. So nobody can get in, but this also means that the men can't get out. Prospero had supplied everything they needed for pleasure. There was music, there was dancing, there was beauty, there was food to eat and wine to drink. All these were within the walls, and within the walls they would be safe. Outside the wall walked the Red Death. Okay, so we have another example of characterization here. We have indirect characterization for Prospero. So I'm going to underline this. I want to underline it in red if it'll let me change it. There we go. And I'm going to add a comment so we can explain this indirect characterization here. I'm going to label it characterization. And this is basically showing that Prospero is self centered. He's only worried about himself and his friends. Okay. It was near the end of the 5th month when Prospero asked his friends all to come together for a dancing party, a masquerade. Everyone was asked to come dressed in fine clothes and with his eyes, or perhaps his whole face, covered by a cloth mask. So this is honestly why I chose this story, talking about covering faces and masks. I thought that it was appropriate for the time. But this is an important detail. So everyone's coming to this party, this masquerade party, with their faces covered. And again, I've made a slight mistake. I need to highlight, and I'm underlining. Everyone was asked to come dressed in fine clothes, and with his whole face covered in a cloth mask. And I forgot up here, I'm going to also highlight as an important detail, all within these walls, or within these walls, they were safe, and outside walked the Red Death. So I'm highlighting that in blue also. It was a scene of great richness, the masquerade. There were 7 rooms in which Prospero's friends danced. In many old palaces, the doors can be opened in such a way that rooms like these 7 can be seen all at the same time. In this in this palace, it was different. Little more than one of them could be seen at one time. There was a turn every 20 or 30 yards. To the right and left, in the middle of each wall, there was a tall pointed window. The windows were of colored glass and of the same color that was used in each room. The first room had blue cloth hanging on the walls, and blue were its windows. The second room had wall hangings that were that blue red known as purple, and here the windows were purple. The third was green, and so was the glass of the window. The fourth had hangings and and windows of yellow, the fifth of white, the sixth of violet. But the seventh room had hangings on the wall which were made of rich, soft cloth, which was black as night, and the floor, too, was covered with the same heavy black cloth. In the room, the color of the windows was not the same. It was red, a deep blood color. Okay, so we have 2 important details that we're going to highlight here. So there were 7 rooms in which Prospero's friends danced. Okay. And down here where they're describing the rooms, that's also very important. So we're going to highlight to the right all the way down to the bottom. So we have our 7 rooms here. And let's go ahead. We're going to add a text box over to the side here. Let's do numbers. So the first room is what color? The first room had blue. Okay, so blue. The second room had wall hangings, blue, red, known as purple. The third was green. The fourth, yellow. The fifth, white. The sixth, violet. And the seventh, black. And I'm going to say with red. So all of the other rooms are one color. This one is different. That's why I've made it capital. Okay. So, and I'm going to add another text box over here into the side because, like I said, these rooms are important. These rooms are described with a lot of detail. A lot of detail. They must be important. Okay. We are going to read this one more paragraph, and that's where we are going to stop for today. All the rooms were lighted through the outside windows. The resulting light was strange indeed. As it colored the shapes of the dancers. But the light that fell on the black hangings through the blood-colored glass was the most fearful of them all. It produced so wild a look on the faces of those that entered there that there were few dancers who dared to step foot in its walls. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and highlight the blood-colored glass was the most fearful of them all. That's an important detail here. And we also have some situational irony here. So I'm going to get my pink highlighter out. It produced so wild a look on the faces of those who entered. There were few dancers who dared to step within those dark walls. And to explain that over here, since they're at a party, you wouldn't expect them to be scared. Parties are typically happy events where everyone's excited and having a good time, but there's an entire room that people are trying to avoid here because when you enter it, it makes you look frightening. Okay, so that is where we are going to stop today. Um, Tomorrow we are going to finish up our story here. If you guys have any questions for me about this first part of our active read, go ahead and send me an email. Have a nice day, guys.